come to this now. The University of the Free State will implement a mandatory vaccination policy next year, and it's following in the footsteps of Wits as well as the University of Cape Town, who've also announced mandatory vaccination as from January next year. Now, the Higher Health Organization says the fourth wave is inevitable and could undermine the full opening of universities and college campuses around the country. So Higher Health CEO Dr. Ramneek Ahluwalia joins us now to have this discussion. And Doc, a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Let's talk about exactly that. You, of course, seeing this imminent fourth wave and it potentially undermining the full academic year next year. What challenge lies ahead next year, do you think?
So you're right, Julian. Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. There are about four variables that will define the fourth wave, and not just the Omicron variant, which obviously has been the biggest news because there's a new mutant in the country. But the three other variables that we have to really speak about is, one is the young people, the second one is behavior, which is loosening up, which is absolutely relaxed, and the third one is vaccinations. And they're all interconnected. So young people who are not vaccinated and are loosening their behavior are showing absolute signs of getting this virus, what the virus enjoys, moving from one human to the other. And as long as it keeps on moving, it will keep finding a human body where it can reside nicely and start understanding our immune system and start trying to break our immune system by building a new variant. And that's what South Africa is experiencing and the world is experiencing. It's not this variant is in South Africa. I mean, this is a mutant. Mutations will happen. We've got about 50,000 mutations that are happening. But they're happening because this is moving very swiftly. And this is predominantly a big factor called the youth and the young people. Africa is a young continent. South Africa is a young country where the majority of the people is young. Yeah. And when you are experiencing young people who are not vaccinating and young people who are also loosening their guards a lot, what choices will we have in business continuity? What choice as a country we will have, or a sector called post-school education we will have, in rather than started thinking, I don't like the word mandatory, but regulations. And I think that's where the universities are coming and thinking towards business continuity perspective. Right. We did this 70% of our studies remotely and 30% on contact learning. Majority of our institutions are built for contact learning. And this is a big, there are universities, there are technical colleges, there are vocational colleges, there are community colleges, and these are skills building. I can't see myself as a doctor, agricultural, mining sector, coming out without skills being taught through contact learning. That's why the system was built.
Right. But with that being said, Doc, if I may just jump in there, do you think that perhaps the cluster outbreaks that we have seen and we've seen being reported from, the Tshwane University of Technology or even the University of Pretoria, those, amongst other things, informed this decision, for the likes of Wits University, UCT and now UFS to introduce, after much consultation, they tell us, to introduce this mandatory vaccination?
You'd be surprised, Julie, how cluster outbreaks in universities actually define the new wave. When we were when the first wave finished off and we were in a lean patch, similarly last year during November, we had two major cluster outbreaks in one of the university in KwaZulu-Natal and one in Eastern Cape. And exactly a month later, we went into a huge second wave because we had a beta variant, which was highly transmissible. And where you see youth sitting in congregation settings like a residence, that's where you start identifying there's something unusual. When we were in an Easter vacation and it was all quiet and lean because we finished out our second wave, exactly a month later, because we had a huge cluster outbreaks in University of Pretoria and TUT, and we went into a third wave, and we had a new variant called Delta. Yeah. Similarly, 10 days back, we had a major cluster outbreak in Tshwane, in TUT, in one of our couple of residences. And cluster outbreak is in not one student or three students. It's about hundreds and 500 people becoming positive in a small residence. And that gives us a indication that we are in serious issues. So what we are saying is, there is one thing called regulations, which we are moving into, and I think many institutions are deciding. The other one we are looking is the phased approach of regulations. And when we seek a approach of regulation, we're talking about health science students, because obviously the students can carry the virus to the patient who's very vulnerable, and rather than the vice versa. But on the other side, residences, because people are living together, residing together,
right,
and mixing vaccinated and non-vaccinated will be an issue. So that's how we're approaching. And that's a discussion that's happening in this moment.
Well, an important discussion that I've just had with you as well. Thank you so much for speaking to us. That's all the time we had with you, Dr. Ramneek Ahluwalia. Thank you so much for speaking to us.